Dear Benjamin, I know I'm long overdue in writing this letter. I would like to give you some reason or excuse for the wait, but the honest truth of the matter is simple in its sadness. I was a coward. No, it was more than that. I was a fool. I remember well the words I spoke of you. Boring, I said. The action seems too long, too tedious. Not enough personality or character. Words like those. At the time, they seemed full of meaning, but now they're vapid. But I'm still hiding from the words that need to be said. There's nothing left for me to do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't appreciate you more. I'm sorry that I didn't understand how much worse things can get. How I wish I could go back in time. In hero time. Yours truly, Lowart. Well, folks, we're here. Alien Force Season 3. The one that a lot of people seem to have issues with. And I'm just gonna cut to the chase here. After watching it, I can see why. Because this is the worst that Ben 10 has ever been. It's a season that shows such a fundamental misunderstanding of both the originals and Alien Force's appeal that, even as someone who hasn't enjoyed this piece of television, I felt offended for those who do. Let's start with our titular man, Big Ben. This is Ben at the worst he's ever been. See, after saving the universe from the hybrids, Ben has become a world-renowned hero. As such, he's got a bit of a bloated ego. This is fine, makes sense, but the way this ego takes form, well, Ben isn't just overconfident or a bit brash now. He's kind of a monster. When his friends are out fighting and he leaves them hanging because he's watching sumo slammers, he doesn't show a shred of remorse. He doesn't care about Julie's pet anymore. He treats authority figures with an incredible amount of disrespect and is rewarded for it. When Kevin gets transformed because Ben tampers with the Omnitrix, Ben barely notices his change, insults him when he does, and eventually just comes to the conclusion that he should stop whining because some of us have real problems. At every turn, Ben is worse than he ever was as a child, and not only that, he's a teenager now, so this behavior is even harder for me to stomach. Never mind that this is a change that simply doesn't make sense. Previously, we had built up a new version of Ben. Even if that guy could be a bit bland sometimes, he was still consistent. He even goes through the exact same lessons again. Like after losing the Omnitrix toward the end of the season, Gwen sits down with him, and she tells him that he's the one who makes him a hero, not the Watch. Sound familiar? It should. It's just a neutered version of their scene from the movie. But who am I kidding? Continuity in Ben 10? Yeah, it's my own fault for expecting that at this point. Kevin is similarly a monster now. After all, when they go to this war-torn world, what does he do while Ben and Gwen try to help these people? He sells them weapons, profits off their fighting, and only cries at the end because he lost his money. Yep, that's one way to destroy any investment I had in him, never mind in his relationship with Gwen, who... Why would Gwen care about this guy anymore? If this was meant to be a joke, was that joke really worth it? Beyond that, Kevin is incredibly whiny now because he thinks he's a monster. Now, I normally don't mind whiny characters that much, at least if the things they're whining about make sense to me. And this? Yeah, I totally get why he's upset. Problem is that making him all sad like this, making him doubt his relationship with Gwen and treat everyone worse, it destroys the balance this trio previously had. Because Kevin was easily my favorite part of this group. The funny guy, the older brother-esque figure to Ben. But this Kevin? He's not the same. There's barely any humor. His character is also all over the place. One episode, he'll learn that Gwen loves him regardless of how he looks, and the next, he'll talk about how she must secretly hate him. Even if I can understand why he'd feel that way, that doesn't make this fun to watch. And as far as I'm concerned, putting him in this role was a serious mistake. They even get small things wrong here, like how at the beginning of the season, Kevin is excited about sumo slammers, but toward the end, he's acting like Ben's weird for enjoying it? What? I guess we just forgot what we'd established then. The only thing with Kevin that I kind of enjoyed was him getting revenge for his father, but even then, this brings in a bundle of questions, because here we reveal that Max knew Kevin's father, but kept this information a secret. But now I'm left thinking that Max should have wanted to help Kevin way more in the OG series. Basically, this is just a sloppy retcon, and boy, oh boy, am I tired of Ben 10 giving me sloppy retcons. Then there's Gwen. Her writing isn't as outright terrible, but the fact that this group's balance is totally out of whack means that she's a bit lost too. Probably more importantly though, her main arc here is related to her trying to help Kevin, and again, I feel like she's smart enough that she should have noticed that he had no remorse about the war thing, and that should have been the end of the relationship, but whatever. What was I saying? Oh yeah. She's trying to help turn Kevin back to normal, and we even get a decent bit of time devoted to that with this episode where she goes back in time to stop the accident, but it dooms the world. So that's kind of fun. Unfortunately though, none of this goes anywhere, because Gwen doesn't get to be the one to help Kevin, and Kevin's transformation saga doesn't get a proper climax. Instead, he just happens to get fixed after they destroy the Omnitrix for unrelated reasons. So not only was this conflict annoying from its inception, not only did it make both Ben and Kevin far less likable, Gwen also didn't even get her moment to succeed and shine. But actually, Gwen and Kevin rarely get a moment to shine here, because over the course of the series, I guess they forgot how to fight? Yeah, they're pretty useless now and unable to take down even the most basic of foes. Almost every fight, Gwen would put up a shield, it would crack, and she'd get hurt. Meanwhile, Kevin would run in, swing at an enemy, and get knocked down. Guess Ben's the only one who gets to fight properly now. Still though, I gotta take a step back and ask, why? Why is this season like this? What happened? Well, what most people will tell you on the internet is that studio meddling is to blame. Unfortunately, I can't find any confirmation on this, though I can understand why people assume this might have happened. Regardless, I don't really care about that. I care about the end product, about what I'm watching right now. And yeah, it sure feels as though it's trying to be more like the original series. After all, we previously skipped a lot of Ben and Kevin's change, so now they've been sort of reset so that we can fill in the gaps. Problem is that now this makes even less sense. They already changed, it's too late, we can't go back. But no, Ben has to be a brat because child Ben was a brat. And Kevin needs to be stuck in an ugly form because he was stuck in an ugly form before. And he needs to be mean and callous and not care about others because that's how it was in the old days. We gotta go back to the old days. But this goes beyond Ben and Kevin. Because Vilgax is back, baby. Except there's a problem. This right here, this isn't Vilgax. Sure, the show's pretending it is, but that's just a lie. Vilgax, before, was a world-conquering brawler who would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. He wouldn't back down, he couldn't be reasoned with. He was like a force of nature that loomed over Ben. This Vilgax? Well, his first challenge to Ben comes in the form of a one-on-one fight. After all, as intergalactic law states, planets can choose a single hero to represent themselves, and Ben is that hero. So if he can win this fight, Vilgax has to abide by the law, and after he loses, he does just that. He takes off, and he respects the rules. And Vilgax would never do that. He doesn't care about laws and rules and deals. He just cares about getting what he wants. I mean, this was one of his biggest moments in the Secret of the Omnitrix movie.
I'll make you a deal.
I do not make deals.
And this isn't some one-off event either. Nah, Vilgax also makes deals with Ben when his home planet is taken over by Ghost Freak. Here we learn that Vilgax is actually a well-loved ruler who cares about protecting women and children, and do I need to explain why this isn't the same guy as before? He was also a huge threat back then. Like, whenever he showed up, you knew things were going to get serious and that Ben was in trouble. Now though, he's often reduced to little more than comic relief, and he's lost all of his threatening energy. He can't do much of anything on his own. Never mind the fact that on a really basic level, I simply don't like his design nearly as much. Before, there was something cool about the way he could beat Ben down just using his fists, even while going up against all these aliens. But now he has the sword, and his voice kinda sounds like he's constantly clearing his throat, and I don't know. It's not the same. However, for those who have seen my previous videos, this might seem weird. Why am I so hung up on Vilgax? I didn't even really like him all that much in the first place. Well, I'm annoyed because even if I didn't like him, I was in the minority there. Plenty of people thought Vilgax was a great villain for Ben, and I hate the idea of bringing him back by name, but entirely changing who he actually is. Really, none of this Vilgax material even comes close to touching their big fight at the end of the first season in the OG show, where Ben was rapidly switching between aliens and Vilgax managed to defeat each of them in turn. That was a genuinely great fight. But now Ben can apparently turn into Diamond Head and defeat him with ease. Even though this is one of the aliens Vilgax had little to no issues with before, but oh well. But what about the rest of the season? I mean, there are 20 episodes here, and a number of them are more one-off episodic conflicts that don't really tie in all that much with fighting Vilgax or getting Kevin's normal body back. So are those ones any better? Well, the Con of Wrath is pretty fun. It's a fast-paced romp through space. Wrath is a hilarious alien at times and helps bring some balance to this trio again. There's a line that got a good belly laugh out of me.
Eating babies is not cool.
So yeah, not much to say about it, but still, it was good. But that's the only one I can say that I through and through enjoyed, because every other conflict was either marred by all the other issues I previously mentioned or just didn't appeal to me on their own. Like this episode where Max's students all have to work together to stop Ben. It's kind of fun to watch Ben acting like the bad guy, but otherwise, this whole plot is based around watching this group grow better at working together, and frankly, I don't care about any of them all that much. I've never particularly liked Helen or Manny, and there was nothing here to change that. Meanwhile, the baseline quality of the action is just, it's so drawn out, with little in the way of interesting back and forths or particularly impressive presentation. In fact, sometimes the show looks downright awful. Oh, and this Fool's Gold episode? There are these minion-esque annoying aliens running around and yelling. There's this creepy moment where one of them is locked in a cage and being forced to poop, and then later Ben has to feed himself to one, and I don't know, man. I can't help but feel like someone's certain proclivities have slipped themselves into the show, and I don't like it. And I could go through, and I could list the other conflicts, discuss their premises, and say that I didn't like them, and repeat what I've already said, but in a different context. But I won't. You know it, and I know it too. I don't like Ben 10. Even worse than that, at every turn, I've had hope that it would improve, that it would find its footing. And over, I've learned that I was wrong. At a point, I have to look at the show, and somehow, after loads of seasons I didn't enjoy, I've just gotta go, what's the point? I've gotta stop. So yeah, as much as I appreciate all of you who have stuck with this series, and as much as I can understand that some of you probably wish that I would cover the rest of it, this has got to be the end of the Ben 10 journey, and I won't be bothering with Ultimate Alien Force. But there is one thing I should still do. One kid I need to apologize to, and I'm starting to think that a letter won't be enough.
Hello?
Oh, good. You picked up. Hi, Ben. It's me. Lowart, how are you? Anyway, I wanted to apologize. Back in those previous videos I posted, I was really hard on you, man. Like, maybe I could have given you some more credit, you know? And this latest season, it got me thinking about that, and I wanted to say that I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Ugh, whatever, dweeb.
Ben, you ungrateful piece of shit.